Let us start by confronting a common fear that echoes across internet forums and late-night gaming chats. The myth goes something like this: someone found my IP address and now they can hack me instantly. This idea paints a picture of a digital boogeyman with a single string of numbers take over your computer, steal your identity, access your most private files. It is a frightening thought, one that suggests our digital lives hang by the thinnest of threads. This misconception is powerful because it plays on our anxieties about the complex and often invisible workings of the internet. The fact, however, is much less dramatic and far more reassuring. Knowing only your public IP address does not, by itself, grant someone the keys to your digital kingdom. For the vast majority of home internet users, an IP address is more like seeing your house from the street than having a key to the front door. It is a piece of public-facing information, but it is not a direct line to your personal data. Gaining control over your devices requires much more than just this single piece of information. It typically involves exploiting an unpatched vulnerability, tricking you into installing malicious software, or bypassing weak security settings that you have direct control over. So, while an IP can be a starting point for an attack, it is rarely the finishing blow. So what exactly is this string of numbers that causes so much concern? An IP address, Internet Protocol address, is a unique numerical label for every device on a network. Think of it like a mailing address for your house. You give your street address so a delivery knows where to bring a package. Similarly, your device's IP tells the internet where to send requested data. Without IP addresses, packets would get lost and the internet couldn't function. You actually deal with two types of IP addresses in daily life. Public IP address, assigned to your home router by your ISP. This is the address the rest of the internet sees. All devices in your home share this single public IP when accessing the internet. Your laptop, your phone, your smart TV. It's the address of your household's connection to the outside world. This is usually the IP people mean when they say someone's IP was found online. Private IP address. Your router acts like a local post office, assigning unique private IPs to each device. Example, private IP 192.168.1100. Example, private IP 192.168.1101. Those private addresses are only used inside your local network and aren't visible outside. Network Address Translation, or NAT, is the system that enables this. NAT acts as a barrier, preventing someone on the internet from directly targeting your laptop or phone just by knowing your public IP. Finding your public IP means they've found your router, the gateway to your network, but they haven't found the specific address of your computer behind that gateway. Now that we understand what an IP address is, let's look at what someone can realistically do if they manage to get their hands on yours. The most common and immediate piece of information they can derive is your approximate geographical location. An IP address is linked to the internet service provider that assigned it, and these assignments are geographically based: country, state, city, or metropolitan area. However, it is crucial to note that this does not pinpoint your exact street address. It might narrow your location down to a large neighborhood or a specific region served by your ISP, but it is not a GPS coordinate for your front door. Beyond your general location, an attacker can use your IP address to launch a distributed denial of service attack. This is perhaps the most common malicious use of an exposed IP, especially in the online gaming community. A DDoS attack works by flooding your internet connection with an overwhelming amount of junk traffic from multiple sources. Imagine thousands of fake delivery trucks all trying to deliver nonsense packages to your house at once, creating a massive traffic jam that prevents any legitimate packages from getting through. The result is that your internet connection can slow to a crawl or stop working entirely, kicking you offline until the attack subsides. While disruptive and annoying, a DDoS attack is a brute force tactic. It attacks your connection, not your devices or data. Another action an attacker can take is to perform a port scan on your public IP address. If your IP address is the street address of your house, then ports are the individual doors and windows. Different internet services use different numbered ports. For example, web browsing typically uses port 80 and 443. A port scan is like an attacker walking around your house and systematically checking every door and window to see if any are unlocked or open. They are looking for open ports that might indicate a running service, such as a file server, a remote desktop connection, or an unsecured camera. The scan itself is not an attack, but it is a reconnaissance step to find potential vulnerabilities to exploit later. Finally, your IP address can be used in doxing campaigns. Doxing is the act of researching and broadcasting private or identifiable information about an individual. By combining your IP-derived location with other information they might have about you, a username, a real name, or social media profiles, an attacker can build a more detailed picture of who you are and where you live for harassment, intimidation, or threats. Despite the potential for misuse, it is vitally important to understand what an attacker cannot typically do with only your public IP address. Knowing this number does not magically grant them access to your personal computer or mobile phone. They cannot, for instance, start browsing through the files on your hard drive. They cannot read your emails. They cannot log into your social media accounts. These actions require a much deeper level of compromise. For example, stealing your passwords or tricking you into installing malware. An IP address is an address. It is not a password. It is not an encryption key. It tells an attacker where you are on the network, but it does not give them permission to enter. The primary reason for this protection lies in the architecture of modern home networks, specifically the router and network address translation. Your router acts as a gatekeeper between your local home network and the public internet. By default, routers are configured with a firewall that blocks all unsolicited incoming traffic. So if someone on the internet tries to connect to your computer without you first initiating contact, the router will simply drop the request. Think of it like a receptionist in an office building. The public IP gets a visitor to the front desk, but the receptionist, your router's firewall, won't let them wander up to your office unless you expect them. Most modern routers, when updated, are resilient against random direct assaults. Accessing data on your devices is another challenge entirely, requiring malicious software or social engineering tactics. While an IP address alone is not an immediate danger for most people, there are specific circumstances where it can become a significant security risk. The danger level increases dramatically when your network or devices are not properly configured or maintained. These cracks in the armor can turn your IP address from a simple locator into a beacon for attackers who are actively scanning for easy targets. One of the most common vulnerabilities is leaving remote administration enabled on your router and accessible from the public internet, especially if it is protected by a weak or default password admin password. This is the digital equivalent of leaving your front door key under the doormat. Another major risk factor is outdated firmware on your router. Router firmware is the software that controls how the device operates. Just like the software on your phone or computer, security flaws are discovered over time. An attacker with your IP address can use automated tools to check the make and model of your router and test it for old, unpatched vulnerabilities. If they find one, they may be able to bypass the firewall or take complete control of the router itself, making your entire network susceptible to attack. The risk also grows significantly if you have manually configured port forwarding on your router without proper security measures. Port forwarding is telling your router to send certain incoming traffic directly to a device on your network. People might do this to host a game server, run a personal web server, access a security camera from outside their home. While useful, this intentionally opens a hole in your firewall. If the service on that open port is not secure, for example, a remote desktop protocol connection with a weak password, an attacker who scans your IP and finds that open port has a direct pathway to attack that specific device. Finally, the danger is amplified if you are a high-value target. In these cases, an attacker may dedicate significant time and resources to compromising your network with sophisticated methods. The good news is that securing your network against the majority of IP-related threats is straightforward and does not require a degree in computer science. The single most important step you can take is to secure your router. Start by changing the default administrator password. When you first get a router, it comes with a generic password like admin password. These are public knowledge, and attackers will try them first. Log into your router's settings and change it to a long, strong, and unique password that only you know. This one action dramatically raises the bar for any attacker trying to gain control of your network's gateway. Next, you must keep your router's firmware updated. Many modern routers have an auto-update feature you can enable. If yours does not, make a habit of logging into its settings once every few months to check for and install any available updates from the manufacturer. These updates contain critical security patches that fix vulnerabilities discovered by security researchers. While you're in the router settings, ensure the built-in firewall is enabled. It almost always is by default, but it is worth checking. Also, disable remote administration, sometimes called WAN management or remote management, unless you have a very specific reason to use it. Beyond the router, practice good security hygiene on all your devices. This means using strong passwords, unique passwords for all your important online accounts, and enabling two-factor authentication wherever possible. Two-factor authentication adds a critical second layer of security, requiring a code from your phone in addition to your password, making it much harder for someone to access your accounts even if they manage to steal your password. Also, ensure that the operating systems and applications on your computers, phones, and tablets are set to update automatically. For an extra layer of privacy and security, consider using a reputable virtual private network service. A VPN encrypts your internet traffic and routes it through a server operated by the VPN provider. This hides your true public IP address from websites and services, making it much harder for anyone to track or target you. Even with strong defenses, it is wise to know how to recognize the symptoms of a potential network attack. One of the most obvious signs of a DDoS attack is a sudden, dramatic slowdown of your internet connection or a complete loss of connectivity for no apparent reason. If you suddenly start receiving a flurry of login attempt notifications or password reset emails for accounts you did not try to access, it could be a sign that someone is trying to use information they have gathered to break into your digital life. Many routers allow you to view a list of all devices currently connected to your Wi-Fi. Periodically checking this can help spot unauthorized devices. For those more technically inclined, router logs can provide detailed records of connection attempts, firewall blocks, and administrative logins. Let's circle back to where we began and put this issue to rest with a clear summary. The pervasive myth that someone can instantly hack your entire digital life just by knowing your IP address is, for the vast majority of people, false. In reality, your public IP address is routinely shared every time you connect to a website, send an email, or play a game online. By itself, it is not a skeleton key that unlocks your most sensitive data. It is simply your network's address on the vast map of the internet. Your security is not a single wall, but a series of layers. An IP address only reveals the outermost wall. Do not live in a state of panic every time your IP address is visible. In many online interactions, it's simply how the internet functions. Focus your energy on securing what you can control. The real takeaway: your online safety is in your hands. Implement basic security practices and you turn a soft target into a hardened fortress, keeping attackers looking for easier victims. While most security issues can be handled with the simple steps outlined previously, there are situations where you may need to call for reinforcements. If you find yourself the target of a persistent and effective distributed denial of service attack that is keeping you offline for an extended period, the first and best point of contact is your internet service provider. Your ISP has a network-level view of the traffic coming into your connection and possesses sophisticated tools to mitigate these kinds of attacks. They can help identify the source of the malicious traffic and may be able to filter it out before it ever reaches your router. Should the situation escalate beyond a simple network attack into direct threats, harassment, extortion, it is time to involve law enforcement. If someone is using information they have gathered to threaten you or your family, this crosses the line from a technical nuisance to a criminal act. Save all evidence of the threats, including screenshots of messages, emails, usernames, and any other relevant details. When you contact your local police department, provide them with this complete record. For businesses or individuals who have experienced a serious data breach, meaning an attacker has successfully gained unauthorized access to your devices and stolen sensitive information, it may be necessary to seek professional help. Cybersecurity incident response firms specialize in dealing with the aftermath of a hack. They can conduct a forensic analysis, determine the extent of the breach, ensure the intruder has been completely removed from your systems, and advise you on the necessary steps to recover and secure your data for the future. Remember this final important point. If you are under a serious, sustained attack, you do not have to face it alone. There is a clear escalation path. For network-level problems like DDoS, your ISP is your technical support. For criminal acts like threats and harassment, law enforcement is the appropriate authority. And for major security breaches, professional cybersecurity services are available to help you navigate the crisis and minimize damage effectively.